Hello, I'm Kirk LaPointe, publisher and editor-in-chief of Business in Vancouver. We're proud to present this series of 10 discussions with prominent British Columbians in what we call the BIV Business Leadership Series, where they're going to share their views on the impact of the pandemic and how our economy can recover. Our series is sponsored by PwC and by Fasken. Their messages appear at the start and finish of our conversations, and we're brought to you by UBC Sauder Executive Education. All of its programs are running online now until the end of the year, offering an opportunity to engage with faculty and peers in virtual classrooms. Enjoy the conversations.
PwC Canada, our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. What we have today is a very important problem. This pandemic affects us all globally. In BC, as the curve continues to flatten, we are settling into new ways of working and considering what business as usual may look like going forward. We are proud at PwC to sponsor this podcast series from Business in Vancouver to talk about what business leaders should know. Returning to the workplace isn't just about physical places. It's about finding opportunities to thrive in this new era. So let's keep the conversation going.
Thanks a lot for joining us today for the BIV Business Leadership Series of discussions with prominent British Columbians about the impact of the pandemic on our economy and the steps that many of our business leaders believe are ahead for us. I'm Kirk LaPointe, the publisher and editor-in-chief of Business in Vancouver. We use the cliche all the time, my guest needs no introduction. And in this case here, it's not a cliche, it's the truth. Our most prominent business leader in British Columbia is unquestionably Jimmy Pattison, whose group is involved in more industries, more activities than we probably have time to mention today. So I want to get on with the conversation. He's seen a lot of business disruption in his time, so his experience now is invaluable as we contend with the pandemic. Thanks a lot for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, well, so how did you first respond when you started to apprehend the threat to business of COVID-19?
Well, I think that we didn't expect the severity that has occurred. Mm-hmm. We've been through a few things before, but nothing like this. And the depth of the problem and the length of it, there's nothing like it ever happened before in the history of the world that I'm aware of. And so it covered a lot of new ground.
Can I say that makes me feel better that we're not sensationalizing what we're going through here? When someone with your experience can actually say, we haven't seen anything like this. We haven't seen anything like this.
The world hasn't seen anything like it.
Yeah.
So just start with that. There's never been anything like this with all that affected the whole world like this has. This is a new experience for everybody.
Yeah. What surprised you about the experience of the pandemic?
Well, what surprised me was the seriousness of it. Mm-hmm. And the breadth of it, and it doesn't matter who you are, you're at risk, and just the whole breadth, width, depth of this is something that I've never run across, nor has anybody else.
How did your operations initially deal with it? Did you send people home? Did you socially distance people? What did you do? As
all of that, everything you said.
Yeah.
People are living, and they're still working from home. They're still working at home. This morning I had an issue that the person that I needed the most was working at home, and and this is going to be with us for a while. And of course, everybody's thinking about, is there going to be a second wave? And when's it going to hit, if it does? And that will be how deep is the well when that happens, if it does happen. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now, at least with us.
So how does someone in your in your shoes with this amount of experience, how do you feel you've asserted your responsibility in this case here? How did you have to rise to this very strange occasion?
Well, let me just correct you on one point. I don't have a lot of experience when it comes to anything like this. Okay. And all we know, we have to take one day at a time. Then, of course, number one is the safety and the security of our people that work in the company and their families. That is absolutely number one. Number two is our customers that are equally, got to make sure we're doing everything that's proper for them. And it doesn't matter whether we're in manufacturing or in the retail business or the service business, whatever it is.
How do you think business practices might change now?
There's definitely going to be changes that, in my opinion, are going to last maybe indefinitely, that will have come out of this. Mm-hmm. And this is not going to pass, this experience, with in my opinion, without some long-term changes.
Like what? What do you think might be?
Working at home. Working at home is definitely something that I think will rise to a new level that we've never seen before.
Yeah, you have so many front-facing businesses with customers that are literally, they're touching an automobile, they're picking up groceries, they're doing all those kinds of things. Do you think we're going to lose a little bit of that human touch when it comes to things like retail and those types of things?
Well, let's talk about this interview we're having right now. I don't think we'd even thought about having something like this if it was 6 months ago.
No, of course not. Yeah, I mean,
yet this is, I don't know, my umpteenth discussion I've had on this form of communication that I never had before, going back 3 months ago.
Yeah. Do you think it's a permanent thing, or do you think we're going to we'll ride it out for as long as we can, and then the second that we can get back to that social nature of conduct, that we'll do that?
I don't think so. I think there will be changes come out of this that will be long-term, significant changes the way we do things in most cases.
Yeah. Does any of this worry you?
No, it doesn't worry. It doesn't worry us, but we're going to have to adapt to things, doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah. How do you think BC in particular will adapt? We seems to be ahead of this a little bit, faster than other places.
Well, we certainly got to give the credit to the lady that has been responsible for this, and the BC government, John Horgan, for the way that the result in British Columbia has been very favorable, and it's obvious it's been the way the government have handled it.
Yeah. Do you think there are ways that British Columbia in particular will adapt? Will we have to depend on different industries for our activity? Will we have to accept some of the permanent losses in some of our industries? What kind of adaptation do you think is coming here?
Well, it'll depend on what the adaptation is. Certainly, communication, the way we do things, just like I said with your conversation with me right now, is something I've never done in my life before. Yet this is the umpteenth time I've been on one of these calls in the last month. Yeah. And I think that this type of thing, particularly long distance, where we jump on a plane previously and go to have a meeting, this really works. Now, it's not as good as face-to-face, but it's a lot better than being on the telephone.
Yeah. Can you imagine what this would have been like without an internet?
I do not. Yeah. I certainly don't.
Yeah. How are you? How are you taking care of yourself? What do you?
Would you say that one more time so I understand what you said?
How are you taking care of yourself? I'm asking
Myself.
a lot of leaders about, what are they doing in terms of keeping a routine? There you are. You're dressed in your boardroom. You look.
Well,
Could be any day there, but
I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm following the rules.
Ah.
I'm following the rules that they ask us to do, and I'm trying to pay attention to all of the things they're talking about, and not perfectly, but very, very close to it.
What do you think are the actual opportunities now for business in the time ahead?
Well, what industry are you speaking about?
Well, I wonder whether the pandemic is also going to afford us an opportunity to take a look at other types of things that we do with our economy. Do you see a different direction of our economy that's been reshaped already in the 12 or so weeks that we've been in the pandemic?
I don't think it'll be in the big picture, but there certainly will be parts of it that I don't think will be the same as time goes by. I think there will be basically fundamentally things will continue. And by the way, I believe long term everything is going to be just fine. But in the meantime, there will be changes that will continue, in my opinion. And by the same token, fundamentals I think that will continue that have made our country and business and opportunities will exist as they always have.
Last point about this one. I don't expect everybody has the same answer on this, but in your own mind and with your company, how long do you think a situation like this lasts? Is it another year? Is it another 2 years? What do you feel?
It depends. If we get a second hit here with this virus? It will have another significant impact, and how serious will that be? And all of the things that we don't know. So I can't answer that question. Just take one day at a time. But the fundamentals of that built our country will continue to exist as we've always had it over the free enterprise system. And so I don't think there's going to be change to that. But certainly people's habits will be affected and their conduct by something in certain industries.
Yeah. My last question, what do you feel you've learned about yourself in this time?
That's a good question. What I learned about myself is that I'm so grateful to the good Lord that I live in British Columbia. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I have found that I'm going to bed a lot earlier than I used to, and that seems to work okay.
Yeah.
And so we'll see if that lasts or not. But anyway, I'm very grateful for the opportunity of living in British Columbia and Vancouver, and certainly being where we are in this pandemic.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today and continued safety and well-being, and we'll see each other on the other side, as they say now.
Well, we'll look forward to that, and thank you very much for the opportunity today.
Jimmy Pattison. I'm Kirk LaPointe, publisher and editor-in-chief of Business in Vancouver. You've been watching BIV's Business Leadership Series. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today's very informative session. I'm Will Westring, managing partner of Fasken's BC region, which includes our downtown Vancouver and Surrey locations. Fasken is a Canadian-based international law firm with offices across Canada, as well as in London, England, Johannesburg, South Africa, and Beijing, China. We are BC's largest law firm and have been servicing this province's business community for over 130 years. At Fasken, we provide a full range of legal services, including assisting clients in relaunching their operations and implementing COVID-19 business recovery efforts. Please call us or visit our website for information on all the services we provide, including our COVID-19 Knowledge Center. We really are in this together. Thank you.